Good evening. Welcome to yet another session of the new path. Last time, in fact, a week before that, we had done the first half of the chapter 20th, 29 Palms. So today we will continue with the same. But as always, let us start with a prayer, sitting up straight, gazing up at the point between the eyebrows, closing our eyes, bringing our hands in front of our hearts in Namaste position, invoking the presence of God and Gurus here with us. Let us pray together, Divine Mother, Heavenly Father, friend, beloved God, great masters of Kriya Yoga, Jesus Christ, Babaji Krishna, Lahiri Mahashaya, Swami Shri Yukteswarji, beloved Gurudev, Paramhansa Yogananda Ji, saints and sages of all religions, dear friend and guide, Swami Kriyananda, humbly we bow at thy feet. O great ones, dear Master, be with us here today. Guide our thoughts, guide our understanding, guide all our activities. And all that we do, may we always reflect our highest potential, an uplifted consciousness. Today, as we read this chapter, guide our understanding so that we can imbibe these teachings into our daily life, into our meditations, and also in other aspects of our lives. We are thine, be thou eternally ours. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. So, last time we were discussing this song by Swamiji when we were talking about being childlike, remember? And we had said that we will be playing that song today about this saint in India who would every morning get up and clap his hand when he looked at the creation, at the beautiful morning, everything, all creatures going about their business, the birds chirping, the river flowing, and he would say, "Well done, God, Lord, well done." Swamiji has created a beautiful song on that. So we will start today's session with that. The words of this song are in the chat, so you can sing along with it. Just a moment.
India there lived by the banks of a stream a hermit whose prayers chose applause for their theme. He gazed at the flowers and he smiled at the sun. Then he clapped with delight. Lord, he cried, "Oh, well done."
Well done, Lord, oh, very well done. The mountains had laughed with the gypsy clouds. The fields smiled to welcome the sun. All nature sings praises aloud. The fields smile to welcome the sun. All nature sings praises aloud. The trees dance to show their elation. A day on God's earth has begun, and every true heart in creation in speechless wonder is found. And every true heart in creation in speechless wonder is found. Well joys of men in their neighbors, of youth and its victories won. Our joys are the proof of your labors. How wonderful, Lord, are your hearts. Our joys are the proof of your labors. How wonderful, Lord, are your hearts. Well done, Lord, oh very well done. At last I've discovered the mystic key. The world's joy, oh secretive one, replies to your sweetness in me. The world's joy, oh secretive one, replies to your sweetness in me. For here in my heart lies the answer, your love shedding light like the sun. All life seems to leap like a dancer, when gazing I see only thee. All life seems to leap like a dancer, when gazing I see only thee.
Just for a moment, pausing here, tuning into this song brings a smile on all our faces. The joy, bring it into your heart, experiencing that joy of this song, offering gratitude to the Lord, forgetting all our worries, all our plans, all our thoughts, and just offering gratitude to God to keep this creation going day after day, this beautiful planet going day after day. The seasons, the weather, the birds, the rivers, the mountains, the clouds, the flowers, especially during this season that we see around us, the colors. Just pausing and offering gratitude to God. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. So we had read this chapter, half of it. We will finish reading it, but our discussion was even less than that what we had read. So we will continue from there. But let's first listen to Swamiji reading this chapter.
To us of our line of gurus and their special mission in this age. For who is the last in a direct line of spiritual succession? What he taught represented no radical new theory, no Eastern counterpart to our own interminable scientific breakthroughs in the West, but the purest, highest, and indeed oldest spiritual tradition in the world. Babaji is the first in this direct line of gurus. A master of great antiquity, he still lives in the Badrinarayan section of the Himalayas, where he remains accessible to a few highly advanced souls. In the latter half of the 19th century, Babaji, feeling that in the present scientific age, mankind was better prepared to receive higher knowledge, directed his disciple, Shyamacharan Lahiri, to reintroduce to the world the long-hidden, most central science of yoga. Lahiri Mahashaya, as his disciples called him, named this exalted science Kriya Yoga, which means simply divine union through a certain technique or spiritual act. Other yoga techniques bear the same name, but according to our own line of gurus, the Kriya Yoga of Lahiri Mahashaya is the most ancient and central of all yoga techniques. Babaji explained that it was to this technique that Lord Krishna, India's greatest ancient prophet, was referring in the Bhagavad Gita when he said, "I related this imperishable yoga to Vivaswat. Vivaswat taught it to Manu, the ancient Hindu lawgiver. Manu gave it to Ikshvaku, the renowned founder of the solar dynasty. In this way it was handed down in orderly succession to great sages until, after long stretches of time, knowledge of that yoga deteriorated in the world. Brackets, because the generality of mankind had lost touch with spiritual realities. Close brackets. Lahiri Mahashai, like Babaji, was a great master of yoga. A yoga avatar, master called him, or incarnation of yoga, though at the same time a householder with worldly responsibilities. Of the many disciples that he initiated, the chief was Swami Sri Yukteswar, modern India's Jnanavatar, or incarnation of wisdom. Footnote: Jnana, wisdom, is often misspelled Jnana in books. Master often commented to me on the problems of transliteration from Sanskrit to Roman characters. He was going over some of his writings with me at 29 Palms after I'd been with him about a year, when we came upon this word, jnana. Jnana is how scholars like to spell it, Master scoffed. It isn't pronounced jnana. And how else are you going to pronounce it if you find it spelled that way? This is just an example of scholars' pedantry. Jnana is the correct pronunciation. The GY in English doesn't show it exactly. Pronounced rightly, there is a slight nasal touch to the sound, jnana. But at least it is much closer to the right way of saying it. Another transliteration that scholars prefer, Master continued, is V in place of B. Instead of Vivaswat, they write Vivaswat. Instead of Vishnu, they write Vishnu. Why? The way V is pronounced in English makes this Sanskrit pronunciation wrong. Again, B isn't exact, but it's closer. In his native Bengali, the sound is distinctly B. Pure Sanskrit resembles the B in the Spanish word hablado, where it is between a B and a V. In Spanish, incidentally, the D is more like the TH in our word the, hablado. Back to the text. Incarnation of wisdom, as Yogananda designated him. Thus it was through Sri Yukteswar that Paramahansa Yogananda was sent to America with the high technique which our gurus said would give wise direction to the hitherto scattered and potentially dangerous development of modern Western civilization. In the divine plan, Yogananda stated on another occasion, Jesus Christ was responsible for the evolution of the West, and Krishna, later Babaji, for that of the East. It was intended that the West specialize in developing objectively, through logic and reason, and that the East specialize in inner, intuitive development. Now the time has come in the cosmic plan to combine these two halves of a circle. East and West must unite. During these evening dictations, Master reviewed also the lessons on Kriya Yoga and made certain changes in the way he had taught them previously. This doesn't alter the technique itself, he explained, but it will make it easier to understand. I was avidly absorbing Master's every word. I hadn't yet been initiated into Kriya Yoga. Master paused suddenly. "Say, Walter," he exclaimed, "you haven't had Kriya initiation." "No, sir," I was smiling smugly. He had already dictated enough for me to understand the technique. "Well, in that case, I shall have to initiate you right now." Interrupting his dictation, Master told us all to sit upright in meditative posture. "I am sending the divine light through your brain, baptizing you," he said from where he sat across the room. I immediately felt a divine current irradiating my brain from the Christ center between the eyebrows. He went on to guide me in the practice of the technique. "Don't practice it yet, however," he concluded. I shall be giving a formal initiation at Christmas time. Wait until then. Gradually, as weeks passed, I found my heart opening like a flower under the sun rays of Master's love. More and more, I was coming to appreciate what a blessing it was to have him for my Guru. During his dictation one evening, he explained a method for attuning oneself to the Guru's subtle spiritual vibrations. Visualize the Guru, he said, at the point between the eyebrows, the Christ center. This is the broadcasting station in the body. Call to him deeply at this point. Then try to feel his response in your heart, which is the body's receiving set. When that response comes, it will be here that you feel it intuitively. When it comes, pray deeply. Introduce me to God. Sometimes also, I visualize Master seated in diminutive form on the head. Either way, as I meditated on him, I often felt a wave of peace or love descend over me, suffusing my entire being. Sometimes answers to questions would come, and a clearer understanding of qualities that I was trying to develop or to overcome. Sometimes, in a single meditation on Master, I would find myself freed of some delusion that had plagued me for months, perhaps even for years. On one such occasion, as I approached him afterward and knelt for his blessing, he commented softly, "Very good." Master occasionally came over to the monks' retreat at 29 Palms. At such times he would walk about the grounds with us, or sit with us and talk. Sometimes we meditated together. After one such meditation, I recorded his words, quote, "This is the kingdom of Om. Listen, it is not enough just to hear it. You must merge yourself in that sound. Om is the Divine Mother." He paused a few minutes. Om Kali, Om Kali, Om Kali. Listen. He paused again. Oh, how beautiful it is. Om Kali, Om Kali, Om Kali. Footnote. Om is a common transliteration for Om, that is to say, OM is a common transliteration for AUM, especially in English, where the vowel consists of two sounds. I have written it thus here to indicate how it should sound when chanted in English, though technically AUM is the more correct spelling because those three letters indicate the three distinct vibrations of cosmic manifestation: creation, preservation, and destruction. For pronunciation, this spelling can be misleading, for the A is not pronounced long as in car, but short as in the word afar, where the first A is short, the second long. The resulting diphthong sounds like the letter O in English. In Hindu mythology, the three vibrations of cosmic manifestation are represented by Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva. Om is the vibration by which the Supreme Spirit brings all things into manifestation. It is the Holy Ghost of the Christian Trinity. On another occasion, I was sleeping at the monks' retreat. It was late at night. Suddenly I awakened with the feeling that a divine presence was in the room. The impression was overwhelming. I sat up to meditate, then caught a glimpse of Master walking outside the house in the moonlight. Inexpressibly grateful to him, I went out and silently touched his feet. Later he joked, "I thought you were a ghost." Master had the amazing gift of universal friendship. Each of us felt in some way uniquely loved by him. At the same time, it was a completely impersonal relationship, one in which outward favors counted for little. Such always, as I have come to understand, is divine friendship. Yet I have been in ashrams where human personalities were so much the focus of attention that almost within minutes of one's arrival, one knew who the important disciples were, what they did, what the Guru said about them. By contrast, during my first few months as a monk in SRF, I doubt whether I would have recognized more than one or two names in a who's who of Master's closest or oldest disciples. We received simply no encouragement to be curious about them. Thus it was that when word came that fall that Fay Wright, now Dayamata, the third president of Self-Realization, had been taken seriously ill, her name, though high on the list of Master's close disciples, meant nothing to me. I learned of her illness itself only as the explanation for why Master had suddenly departed 29 Palms for Los Angeles. It would be a serious loss to the work if she died, Bernard assured me gravely. She was already gone, Master announced on his return from Los Angeles. Just see how karma works. The doctor, though summoned in plenty of time, diagnosed her case wrongly. When he discovered his mistake, it was too late. She would certainly have died, but God wanted her life spared for the work. Master counseled us not to be preoccupied over matters that didn't directly concern us. Always remain in the self, he counseled me once. Come down only to eat or talk a little bit if necessary. Then withdraw into the self again. I didn't meet or even see Dayamata until I had been with Master almost a year. My immediate concern at 29 Palms was our job. We dug the hole for a swimming pool. Other monks then came out to help construct the wood forms. Bernard informed us that the pouring of the concrete would have to be done continuously to prevent seaming. We did the whole job by hand, mixing and pouring with the aid of a small cement mixer. I shoveled the sand, someone else added the gravel, others maneuvered wheelbarrows to the pouring sites. 23 hours we labored, pausing only occasionally to refresh ourselves with sandwiches and hot drinks. Inwardly, however, as we worked, we chanted constantly to God, and the hours passed joyously. At the end of it all, I think we actually had more energy than at the day's start. We were all smiling happily, all of us, that is, but one. This man, after an hour or two of half-hearted labor, had grumbled, "I didn't come here to shovel cement." Sitting down, he watched us for the remainder of the day, reminding us occasionally that this wasn't what the spiritual path was all about. Interestingly, at the end of that long day, he alone felt exhausted. The subject of this particular disciple's unwillingness came up a few months later in a discussion with Master. "He told me, sir," I remarked, "that he feels he can't obey you implicitly because he wants to develop his own free will." "But his will is not free," Master replied wonderingly. "How can it be free, as long as he is bound by moods and desires? I don't ask anyone to follow me, but those who have done so have found true freedom. Sister," he continued, using the name by which he always referred to Sister Ganamata, the elderly disciple whom I'd met on my first visit to Encinitas. "Sister used to run up and down all the time, doing my bidding. One day a few of the others said to her, 'Why are you always doing what he says? You have your own will.' She answered, 'Well, but don't you think it's too late to change?' And I must say I have never been so happy in my life as I have been since coming here." Master chuckled. They never bothered her again. Already in my own little way, I could endorse Sister Ganamata's reply to those reluctant disciples. For the more I tuned my will to Master, the happier I found myself becoming. My will, Master often said, is only to do God's will. The proof of his statement lay in the fact that the more perfectly we followed his will, the freer we ourselves felt in God. As Christmas approached, my heart was singing with a happiness I had never before even dreamed existed. Christmas was an important holiday at Mount Washington, the most sacred of the entire year. Master had divided it into its two basic aspects, spiritual Christmas, which we celebrated on Christmas Eve, and social Christmas, celebrated the following day with traditional present opening and a banquet. Master later shifted our spiritual Christmas back to the 23rd so that devotees wouldn't have to stay up all night afterwards, preparing food for the large Christmas Day banquet. On the 24th, we gathered in the chapel at 10 in the morning for an all-day meditation, inviting the infinite Christ to be born anew in the mangers of our hearts. I don't know how many have approached their first experience of this long meditation without trepidation. Few, I suspect, and among them certainly I don't include myself. We took our seats, Master at the front of the room, facing us. The doors were closed. From that moment on, save for a short break in the middle, no one was supposed to enter or leave the room except in an emergency. We began with a prayer to Jesus Christ, our other masters, and the saints of all religions, to bless us on this holy occasion. There followed some 15 or 20 minutes of chanting. Paramahansa Yogananda's cosmic chants consist of simple sentences repeated over and over, each time with deeper concentration and devotion. I had been raised on the intricacies of Western classical music. It had taken me some time, as Master's disciple, to adjust fully to this rather stark form of musical expression. By now, however, I had come to love the chants. In their very simplicity I found beauty, and a power that surpassed that of most, if not all, the music I had ever heard. For these were spiritualized chants. Master had infused subtle blessings into them by singing each one until it elicited a divine response. As buildings and places develop vibrations according to the consciousness of the people who frequent them, so music also develops vibrations beyond those of the actual sound. Chants that have been spiritualized, particularly by great saints, have a heightened power to inspire whoever sings them. One chant we sang that day was "Cloud-colored Christ come, cloud-colored Christ come, oh my cloud-colored Christ come, oh my Christ, oh my Christ, oh my Christ, oh my Christ, Jesus Christ come." I found it marvelously effective for taking me deep into meditation. Sessions of chanting alternated with increasingly long periods of meditation. Sometimes, to alleviate any physical tension we might be feeling, Master had us stand while chanting. For some of the more rhythmic chants, he had us clap our hands. A couple of times he requested Jane Brush to play devotionally inspiring pieces on the organ while we listened meditatively. At some time during that afternoon, Master had a vision of the Divine Mother. In an ecstatic state, he related her wishes to many of those present. Some he told to give themselves unreservedly to God. Others he informed that the Cosmic Mother had blessed them specially. And then he spoke to her directly, out loud, that we might hear at least one side of this blissful dialogue. "Oh, you are so beautiful," he repeated over and over. "Don't go," he cried at last. "You say that the material desires of these people are driving you away. Oh, come back. Please don't go." The meditation that day was so deep that the customary 10-minute recess halfway through it was omitted. The apprehension I had felt at the outset proved a delusion. The soul loves to meditate, Master used to tell us. It is the ego, in its attachment to body consciousness, that resists entering the inner vastness. On Christmas Day, we exchanged gifts in the traditional manner. Included with a more serious present that I gave Master was a slinky toy in memory of that incident of the toy pistols at 29 Palms. In return, I received from him a 4-color pencil to split infinitives with, he told me with a smile. This day had for its main feature an afternoon banquet at which Master presided. I helped to serve the curry dinner. Afterwards, Master addressed us. The sweetness of his speech so uplifted me that to me it was as though I were living in heaven. Never had I thought such divine inspiration possible on this prosaic earth. The following day, Master gave Kriya initiation, primarily, if not entirely, to the renunciates. As I approached him for his blessing, I prayed mentally for his help in developing divine love. After I'd been touched by him at the Christ Center, I opened my eyes to find him smiling at me blissfully. Toward the end of the initiation ceremony, Master said lots of angels have passed through this room today. And then these thrilling words of promise. Of those present, there will be a few siddhas and quite a few jivan muktas. Footnote: a jivan mukta is one who has become freed of delusion, but still has some past karma to overcome. A siddha has been freed from all traces of past karma. On New Year's Eve, we gathered in the main chapel for a midnight meditation, again led by Master. At one point during the proceedings, he beat a large gong softly, then with gradually increasing volume, alternately decreasing and increasing the volume in waves. Imagine this as the sound of Om, he told us, spreading outward to infinity. At the same instant, 100 miles south in Encinitas, another group of disciples was meditating in the main room of the hermitage. They too heard the gong as Master was striking it. One of the monks later told me it was as though it were being struck in the hallway just outside the room we were in. The meditation that followed at Mount Washington was enthralling. Midnight came, suddenly waves of noise sweeping up from the city below and inward from the surrounding neighborhood, factory whistles, car horns, shouts, as countless celebrants ushered in the new year. The door of a neighboring house opened and a voice shouted into the night with a tone almost of desperation, "Happy New Year!" What a contrast between the frantic, emotional, almost febrile excitement in the sounds that were being unleashed by the thousands of celebrants around us, and the calm, expanding soul joy we experienced in ourselves, in the sublime peace of our little chapel. And how blessed, I reflected, how wonderful it was to be in this holy place, at the feet of my divine Guru. I prayed that the new year would bring me an ever-deepening awareness of God's love.
This is such a beautiful chapter, like all the other ones too. So, the last class we discussed some of the, there's this one line points that Master had given, and those we had taken as a takeaway, where he said that, silence is the altar of the spirit. So try to remain. Swamiji was very new on the path, and he was used to talking. So, when he again saw himself in the company of Master, he tried to talk to him, and Master was trying to teach him that, it's okay to be silent. You need not always be expressing it outwardly. So, those were the important things. Greater the will, greater the flow of energy. And it is not just for the energization exercises, but in every aspect of our life, the greater the will with which we put out. We will discuss this a little bit on the coming part. And the greater the flow of energy. It's everything is about energy, right? So the more we put the willpower into it, we are able to. So we can. That is how you attract, success in any aspect. I mean, if a child were he is going to be constantly distracted, then he has to put in a lot of willpower to make sure he is focused on what he is doing, and then he will succeed. And similarly for a businessman, so it is like for every aspect of our life, these points are very important. And he also said, whatever comes of itself, let it come. So here, Swamiji and his friend Norman, they were the new monks who Master had taken to 29 Palms to be near him. It wasn't like he was, because they are new, he's going to sit and give them any instruction. He took them with, just by being in the presence, the vicinity of him was enough to uplift their consciousness and to bring them in attunement to what this path was all about. And that is the reason he had taken. And they were to create this swimming pool, which Swamiji writes that master never ever used it also. So it was just a task that was created just to keep these boys there busy doing something, but the whole purpose was to keep them close to where he was in his vibration, right? What a blessing is that. So and we also discussed like master being childlike, lot of wisdom, but he didn't take it very seriously. I mean, anybody will think, oh, if you want to talk very wise things and the philosophy of this and that, then you need to be very grim. And it wasn't like that. He would laugh and joke, and when everybody is laughing, he will plant in a very very profound thing, right? And that is a lesson again, not to take yourself too seriously. So and then we are here on page number 216. Okay, so where he talks about even the dog, when he's saying that the dog, do you see his forehead is wrinkled up, he says, though his thought is only for the food, in his earnest concentration his mind is focused at the spiritual eye. All of us do that, right? If we are trying to come to some solution to a problem, we kind of wrinkle our eyebrows instinctively. So master was constantly bringing the thought of these guys back to the important teachings in a very playful way, but they were being planted there. So Swamiji asks, so, sir, have I been a yogi before? He says, many times. You would have to have been to be here. Again, as I said, the last one also, Swamiji is the window to master for all of us. What he's talking applies to each one of us. The very fact that we are interested, we came onto this path, we walked into that door to learn how to meditate, as given by Yogananda. The very fact that we were interested in Kriya Yoga is because we have been here before. I mean, let's make no mistake about it. It is not by chance. I mean, we can ask anybody, then how do you come? We will say, oh, I saw an ad, or somebody suggested, some friend brought me here. All of that is just, when the circumstances are created, so we come back again. So this is a very, very, very important point. He says many times, you have to have been to be here. Worth even, at another time, he also said that it takes very, very, very good karma to even want to know God. So let's make no mistake about why we are here, whether I deserve to be here, am I even a good disciple? We have done this before, but the whole point is The fact that we are still here means we still have a lot of work to do. Somewhere we left it off. Like later on, we will read about that. The Sinor Quran, whom a master once said that, oh, I lost sight of you a couple of incarnations, for a couple of incarnations. Now I have found you. I will, not lose sight or something. And every time Senor Quran would cross him, he would say, Master, you will not forget. Master said, oh, no, no, I will not. And then in one of the talks, Swamiji said, did Master really lose sight of us? Because the Guru never loses sight of us. That's a promise, it's an eternal journey. They have been tracking us from where we might have been rocks or a worm. So they know us, they have been with us. So, what is this about that two incarnations that he lost sight of? It's because the disciple decides, no, no, I don't want to get into this anymore. So, he kind of blocks the guru from reaching out to him and wants to play this game of Maya. So it's us who lose sight. So, and now Sinor Quran is back, was back, and we are also back. So it's very important that we don't lose sight of the Guru. Guru has come back into this lifetime, whatever time, some people came to this in this lifetime pretty early in 20s, some came in 30s, doesn't matter. Whatever time we came is the right time for us. We had to finish certain karma before we come in. But now that we are here, let's not lose it. Another lifetime. So he says here, okay, so here he's talking about, master going over his lessons that he used to keep going over them, right? It wasn't, okay, I have said it, this is it. He would keep going back to him. She's saying, where master had said, one can't get answers to scientific questions by merely praying for them. The appropriate experiments must be conducted also. Spiritual truths similarly, so the lesson stated require verification in the laboratory of yoga practice and of direct inner contact. The master said, that's not completely true. So what he was saying that these are lessons for beginners, and he had written that it's like treat this body as the laboratory, and meditation and God contact through meditation is very important. It's like how approaching it scientifically, and he had written that only merely praying will not help. Then master said that's not completely true. If one prayed deeply enough, he would get answers even to intricate scientific questions. But then he said no. The point here concerns the need for verification by, so he is thinking, if it is a beginner, and what is the right way of approaching? If you say no, no, only by praying you can do, then people will not meditate. So he's saying no, no, when I'm talking about appropriate methods, then this is the right answer. So he was, as we can see, he was a master, yet he was weighing it, he was going over things. It's not like once I have said I'm done, this is what it is, it's written in rock. It's not like that. He was seeing what is the best way to introduce a certain thing, especially meditation, to a newcomer, and he was going over things again and again. So he said no, the point here concerns the need for verification by appropriate methods. In this sense, what has been written is valid, since prayer is effective in such matters only for those who already have made some contact with God. So we can't, say, no, no, I can't meditate, so let me just pray, pray, pray. He's saying you need to have some contact with God, and then, using that is when, the prayers become more effective. So meditation and prayers, as Master said, prayer is talking to God, meditation is listening to God. So both are equally important. So, but that's what he's saying, that first get that base done, and then, prayers are equally effective. So, in this way, he says, paragraph by paragraph, he would analyze what had been written before, clarify certain portions, and deepen the import of others. The insights, he says, I received from him thereby were priceless. Impressive to me also was his manner of teaching, universal in outlook, never self assertive. No, I have said that is why. It was universal, conscious of the relationship to the broadest reality of whatever he was considering. So he wasn't presuming on anything. He was being, considerate to who is his audience, how to present it so that, it can reach and is accepted, rather than, people saying, oh, this is another dogma. So he was making it so universal, and the way he was approaching each audience, he would, weigh the audience and then plant those, because these are beautiful universal teachings, but they have to be planted at the consciousness at which we are, and then bring that person up. So he was very careful about that. He says, I was struck also by the sheer dynamic courage of his teaching. He never toned down because, oh, no, this is this audience is different, so I shouldn't put this, or this will not be accepted. So he says many a teacher would be tempted to tone down what he said or wrote, as if hoping by making them bland to make them popularly acceptable. He didn't. But the hallmark of greatness is extraordinary energy, and such energy always poses a challenge to one horsepower minds. So Master never, compromised on these universal truths, and he didn't try to tone down just to make it popular, but try to bring people more to that level to understanding. So, and he is talking about, where some of the other disciples would try to tone it down. But Master, we also always saw that when he would go on stage, he would say, how is everybody? How feels everybody? Only when he got the response, awake and ready, is when, he would plant those teachings into them. The people have to rise to that level of energy before he would plant those things. And he said that, others would try to tone it down, which is okay. I mean, that is that they were not yet, no, that level of dynamic teaching that they were able to do it. Okay, so here he's talking about our line of gurus also. Many times, especially in India, we new people when they come in, they always ask us that, the altar, there is this Jesus Christ. Why is Jesus Christ on the altar? So Swamiji asked it in a different way, because he thought, because Master has come to America, so has he included Jesus just to make it acceptable to American, mostly Christian audience, right? So it's a very good, and here it's the other way around. Why is Jesus Christ on the altar? So it's a good answer here. He says no one else would have died. But for the first lesson of his correspondence, Master dictated a passage in support of his claim that a close karmic bond exists between our direct line of gurus and the great Master Jesus. How? He says Babaji, Lahiri Mahashaya, and Sri Yukteswar were the three wise men who came to. We know that story, when Jesus Christ, I mean, Jesus was born in that manger. Three wise men from East came. They followed they followed the star of East. So, which is very strange. When they say that three wise men who came to visit the Christ child in the when Jesus, okay. So, Master, in one talk, I think Swamiji had mentioned that, nobody questioned this. The three wise men followed the star in the east. How can they go towards west? So, what is the star of east? Star of east is the spiritual eye. And Master said that those three wise men were Lahiri Mahashaya, Babaji, and Sri Yukteswar, who came following the star of east. They knew that Lord, the Son of God, was born in this place, so they were able to reach it. So he says when Jesus became old enough, he returned their visit. The account of his trip to India was removed from the New Testament centuries later by sectarian prelates who feared that its inclusion might lessen his stature in the eyes of the world. Now, Swamiji in footnote also writes the fact that the Bible says nothing at all about those missing 18 years. I mean, these are worth thinking over. No, they call it lost years. But Swamiji writes 18 years offers the strongest possible evidence that the account of them was actually deleted. He says, it is simply not credible that all four of the apostles would have omitted any mention. At least they would have said that, he's saying that they would say that, he was busy in his father's carpentry work or whatever. He would say something. Okay, he wasn't doing any major work, but we'll mention. Nothing was mentioned, which is not possible. So he's saying that, he's saying at the very least, he would have said something like, and Jesus grew up and worked in his father's carpentry shop. The fact that nothing at all is said suggests that later work of priests whose religious convictions inspired them to delete those parts. So Jesus Christ was a yogi. He had come to India and got trained in the yogic techniques. So Master often talked to us of our line of gurus, Swamiji writes, and their special mission in this age. And for he was the last. Again, he also said, Master also said that he was the last in the direct line of this lineage of guru. So there, after Master, there will be nobody, right? Why? Because that is how it is. So, so he was what he taught represent no radical new theory, no Eastern counterpart to our own interminable scientific breakthroughs in the West, but purest, highest, and indeed oldest spiritual tradition in the world. So this is what we learned in the previous part of this book, that Jesus Christ, who was a yogi himself and who came to Babaji. I mean, and we also read now today that he was it was his responsibility for the evolution of the West, and for East was Babaji, who is actually the reincarnation of Krishna, right? So these two are the, especially now that we have entered this age of Dwapar Yuga, ascending Dwapar Yuga, we have gone through this. That it's like a cycle, 24,000 years of a cycle of various ages, when the planet goes through a very high, people are more evolved, to the lowest, which is the Kali Yuga, the dark ages. So here he talks about Babaji, who we read in autobiography of a yogi how Lahiri Mahasaya was called to Rani Ket, and Babaji gave him Kriya Yoga. This is the same Kriya Yoga which Krishna talks about in the Bhagavad Gita, where he says that he says that I related this imperishable yoga to Vivaswat, who then taught to Manu, who then gave it to Ikshvaku. Ikshvaku is the ancestor of Lord Ram. So, it is ancient. Kriya Yoga is ancient and has been around for practically eternally. But as the ages change, in those days, in the descending ages of higher ages, they were kept secretive amongst rishis, among renunciates. Only few knew, and then almost practically disappeared in the Kali Yuga, the dark age, with only few of them, keeping it, holding on to it. Babaji being one of them. And when again the planet Earth has entered the ascending Dwapar Yuga, Lahiri Mahashaya was, the Kriya Yoga was reintroduced, and Lahiri Mahashaya was given. And Lahiri Mahashaya, the moment he met Babaji and he knew that, he was his guru from a previous incarnation, he didn't want to go back. He was already married with kids. But Babaji said, no, your purpose is not that. You have to go back. That is why Lahiri Mahashaya was a householder yogi. He said, in this ascending Dwapar Yuga, and he allowed him to give it to all sincere seekers. And he said, go back and show to the world that you don't have to go live up in the Himalayas. You can be a householder and yet be a renunciate and yet live the teachings of the Kriya Yoga. And that is what Lahiri Mahashaya's whole purpose was. And then, as Jesus Christ had requested Babaji to send someone to the West, which was becoming extremely materialistic. though for that period of time, it was allowed that the spirituality will rise, continue to rise in the East, and West will become material. But at some point, with the coming of, ascending age, this has to intermingle. It can't be like, a skewed progress in either direction. So they have to intermingle. So, and for that, Jesus Christ says, send somebody over to the West. People have forgotten my teachings. So send somebody over. And Yogananda was the one who was chosen. And Babaji told Shri Yukteswar, who was the disciple of Lahiri Masha, that I will send somebody to you to train and then send to the West. So the purpose of Yogananda's incarnation was very clear. He came for this only, to spread the teachings of Kriya Yoga in this ascending Dwapar Yoga. And that Kriya Yoga, as Babaji, we read in Autobiography of a Yogi, is the only way for bringing the uplifting the consciousness of all countries, the entire planet. And how can that happen without, the individuals in everywhere being planted? So it has to spread globally. It has to spread. This is the only answer for uplifting the consciousness of this planet. And each one of us, that is why, has to play our part in this grand plan of Babaji and Jesus Christ. So yeah. So Swamiji says, and when Master is talking about the Kriya Yoga, a little bit more time, we have time. Okay. Talking about Kriya Yoga technique itself, suddenly Master realized, oh, I'm dictating all this. So he says, say, Walter, you haven't had Kriya initiation. And Swamiji writes this. He says, I was smiling smugly because he had already got what it really was, the technique. So he says, I was smiling snugly because he had already dictated enough for me to understand. But that is what we need to understand here. He says, okay, now since he had already heard it, he says, okay, I will, initiate you. Very important. I'm sending the divine light through your brain, baptizing you. So Kriya is a technique. It's a pranayam technique. Just knowing the technique is not enough. That baptism that we receive during that is where the initiation, attending the initiation, is very important. If just because we read, even there are, people can say, oh, I read about some kriya. The kriya is never taught in a book. This is the reason, because it is just a technique. It doesn't hold the power that of liberation. That is a kriya. That is what it does. It leads us to self-realization, but only if it is given as an initiation by the guru, with that touch, with that baptism of, what is it? It's a divine light that through our brain, it cauterizes a lot of brain grooves in the brain, the karma, and to bring the disciple to that state where he can then start working towards his own liberation. He said, and Master was sitting somewhere across the room. He says, I immediately felt a divine current radiating my brain from the Christ center between the eyebrows. And then he went on to guide all of us, whoever we have attended the Kriya Yoga, the initiation, we have felt that, right? Even though Master is not in the body, but whoever is a Kriya Charya, when they, take that, who have the authority, we all feel the difference of these initiations. Okay, so he goes on to write about how to attune oneself to Guru's subtle spiritual vibrations. He says, visualize the Guru at the point between the eyebrows, the Christ center. He said, so we are not just this physical body, right? We are all energy bodies. And this is the broadcasting station, as the master said, the spiritual eyes. Call to him deeply at this point, then try to feel his response in your heart. Heart is the receiving station, which is the body's receiving set. So when that response comes, it will be here that you feel it intuitively. When it comes, pray deeply. Introduce me to God. This we can do it every day during our meditation. At the start, when we start, just when that is the reason we invoke the presence of God and gurus before anything, before we start reading this book, before our meditation, and call out to them. It's not just some words we are saying. It's very important. That is why when tomorrow, in tonight, when you meditate before sleeping, uh, it's not just some prayer that we are saying. Do it with a lot of concentration, calling out to God and gurus through the spiritual eye. It's a broadcasting station. Do your techniques and then sit for a long time trying to feel their response in your heart center, which is Master said receiving set, receiving station. And when we receive, and even we have any question that we have to ask Master, uh, the answer, how do you make the difference whether it is coming from our subconscious mind, or Swamiji said, or if it is guided, is when there is not even a flutter in the heart. Even if there's a mild flutter, know that it is coming from the subconscious mind, our mind suggesting those answers. Because a guidance from the guru feels like an expansive calmness. So these are very important things that we need to remember. These techniques, it's a constant practice. We can't presume on our intuitive guidance that Master told me this, Master told me that. Many times, we people say that, oh, I meditated, and is it really Master guiding, or this is what I want to hear? So my own mind suggesting. How do you know that it's the heart's feelings? What Master said. That is the difference. And here he says sometimes how to, these are the methods how to tune to Master as we meditate. He says sometimes also I visualize Master seated in diminutive form on top of my head during meditation. Either way, as I meditated on him, I often felt a wave of peace or love descend on me, suffusing my entire being. Sometimes answers to questions would come and a clearer understanding of qualities that I was trying to develop or to over. These are very important points that Swamiji is making. How to meditate, how to tune into the Guru as we meditate. So sometimes in a single meditation on Master, I would find myself freed of some delusion that had plagued me for months, perhaps even for years. Amazing points he's saying here. On one such occasion, as I approached him afterward and knelt for his blessing, he commented softly, "Very good." Master knew. Swamiji didn't go up to him and said, "Thank you so much. I was trying to overcome this for so long." Nothing. He felt, he was finally, off, that block had lifted. He just went and knelt at his feet, and Master knew. How did he knew? Because he's always helping us. He's always sending out help. He was able to help Swamiji because Swamiji was receptive, because Swamiji was tuning into him in all his meditations every time. So every time we meditate, it's important to tune into Guru, because we don't know. I mean, we are carrying so many blocks, so many of karmic blocks in our astral journey, in our astral spine. Which one Master is constantly helping out, provided we are tuning in, we are ready, we are receptive. So these are very important points, how to meditate with Master, on Master, as Swamiji has said. Okay, so and this is so beautiful when he said that this is the kingdom of Om. Listen, listen. You must merge yourself in that sound. Om is the divine mother, right? Om is the creation. Om, the pure consciousness created through the Shakti, divine mother, Shakti. Om Kali, Om Kali. We have this chant also, Om Kali, Om Kali. Last class we had done that. He was hearing it as Om Kali. Master used to um, pray to God as Divine Mother. He felt, he would say that Divine Mother is that benevolent, all-loving, unconditional love, the mother aspect of God. And he would say that, try to relate to God as the Divine Mother. And he says, he paused again, "Oh, how beautiful it is, Om Kali." Om Kali, Om Kali. That's the sound he was hearing of Om. Okay, a little bit more, then we can close, I think. So we still have some, we will discuss two points next class before we start. And he's saying Master had an amazing gift of universal friendship. Each of us felt in some way uniquely loved by him. Why? Because Master was a pure channel of God. God loves each one of us. Like there is this saint who said, if only you knew how much God loves you, you would die of joy. Each one of us is a unique, it's God's song is flowing, unique song through each one of us. Nobody is like the other. Not even a snowflake is like the other. No? So how can we be like anyone? So, but God loves every aspect, every expression of himself, right? And who is Guru? Guru is a pure channel of God, of the divine. So he relates to each one of us at whoever we are. There's no comparison. We might, compare between this and that, between this person and that one. For God, for Guru, there's no, they don't compare, they don't judge. They just love. And there's a unique, so he says each one of us felt in some way uniquely loved by him. At the same time, it was a completely impersonal relationship. One, so it was personal, yet it was impersonal. Why? It was to our soul. It's not to our personality. It's not to our ego. One in which outer favors counted for little. Such always as I have come to understand is divine friendship. Even Sri Yukteswar, we read in autobiography where, rich people would come, he wouldn't even bother looking at them. Because what can they give him at the end of the day? He is like, he is king in the kingdom of God. So for him, he related to the soul, a pure heart. God is only looking at for a pure heart, a love of heart. Nothing else matters. Our position, our personality, the financial, nothing matters to Guru. Nothing matters to God. What can we bring him except the love of her? Master said that, mm, the only thing that God doesn't have is your love. So, he can take anything but your indifference. Lifetimes people go being completely indifferent to God. And Guru, it's the same thing, right? We can use a word in alternatively. So, and he says, yet I have been in ashrams where human personalities were so much in focus that the moment you step in, you know who is an important person. Whereas here he says, I didn't know who is the closest, who somebody who has been around for so long. I had no clue who it was, even though he was in for some time. Thus, it was that when word came that fall, that 5 right, Dayamata, the third president. The first one was after Master's Mahasamadhi was Raj Rishi Janakananda, who, and then, but he also, left very early. He had cancer and he passed away. And then it was Dr. Lewis, and then Dayamata became. And, so that is how Swamiji was saying that there was no importance of, no personalities who was in this thing. It wasn't important. So that is how Master was. Everybody was important for him. Even the newest person to the oldest one in the ashram, everybody was important. He loved each uniquely. So rest, I think you'll have to, only 2 pages left. So next class, we will start with finishing this chapter and then we will do the next one.
Okay. Thank you, Jayanti.